Welcome to another scriptural study. In this scriptural calendar, astronomical, and scriptural word study, we will be sharing why only a restored moon is full moon. Yes, a restored moon works in perfect harmony with the sun and the stars. Yes, all three witnesses of light working in perfect harmony together to tell time, according to all of these scriptural witnesses of light as well. Yes, a restored full moon in all 4 night watches, because no human being on earth would take away from a human clock, such as removing the second hand, the hour hand and minute hand, let alone anything from a human timing piece. So why do humans feel compelled on earth here today, as it has been all through time, to take away from the perfect witnesses of light from our Father of lights above? So we will also be sharing these scriptural etymological words that will further enhance this study on a restored full moon in 4 night watches is indeed the new moon. As we go through this scriptural study, and as we always share, please ensure that you stop the video at any time to focus on the scriptural and astronomical information being shared. And a further tip is to ensure that your computer monitor, whether it's your mobile phone, iPad, and or computer screen, is on full view or full screen mode for obvious reasons. It would also be wise to watch the latest scriptural study video we released entitled The Mechanics of the Moon at Dawn. And we'll go over this again, but we will share the methodology with the forecasting templates from this particular video for all 4 night watches as requested. We've been doing this now for over 20 years and really exploring this methodology in full in the last 8 years, as shared on all the photograph and film footage that we have provided at sundown, with how the moon operates with the sun, all the way into the 2nd and 3rd watch at midnight with how the moon rules the night with the stars, all the way to dawn with the film and photograph footage on how the sun, moon, and stars really shine at that moment in time, and all the way up with the film and photograph footage at sunrise. So we're going to use all of the witnesses of light during this scriptural study. The scriptural outline will be in 4 categories. And of course, those 4 categories will surround themselves around the 4 night watches as it pertains to Tehillim, or the book of Psalms, chapter 119, verse 148. Because Bereans who are striving to become noble ensure that their eyes go before the night watches to study the word. Yes, Bereans are striving to become full and complete children of the light. So we just don't focus on one of the night watches. We focus on all 4. So again, very important part to the outline of this scriptural study, because the mechanics of a restored full moon show perpetual motion of continuity in all 4 night watches. So category 1 will be the restored full moon at sunset, as aligned with the stars and the sun, and its position in degrees to the horizon, below or above, if you will, or beyond, as some say, and the position of the moon in degrees to true north, like on a compass, or azimuth. And finally, the percent illumination of the moon at sunset, and not just for one day, for each and every day of a scriptural month and beyond. In category 2, we will be exploring the restored full moon at midnight as aligned with the sun and stars. And again, for these criteria that you see that I'm encircling here in a counterclockwise fashion. Again, Scripture does not start its days at midnight. So we'll explain the impact of that in this category as well. In category 3, again, we will be reviewing the restored full moon at dawn as aligned with the sun and stars, and again under those same criteria. And then finally, a great witness as well, the restored full moon at sunrise as aligned with the sun and stars, again under these 3 criteria, because these 3 criteria we can actually shamar or observe with the human eye, let alone photograph and take film footage of. So let's get on to category 1, the restored full moon at sunset, shall we? Again, it would be wise, if you haven't seen this video, Mechanics of the Moon at Dawn, as we did a live example of the 6th new moon day, and the days before that and the days after that, which is very insightful, and the methodology of forecasting templates will highlight themselves in regards to how you can take that forecast and, more importantly, then go outside and test and prove it with what the Father of Lights provides. So, as we can see here on this worksheet, we number our days, plural, not just one day. We actually take photograph and film footage of not just new moon days, but other days as well. And the learning from this is enormous. We don't imprison ourselves with a piece of the witnesses of light, but we do our best to learn all of the witnesses of light and what they do, such as the sun, the moon, and the stars. So again, on this Excel spreadsheet, you will see at the top of the page the actual month that we are in. And in this example, it's the dawn or first light. So all of those times are on this worksheet, as you can see. And the scriptural day count is right here. This represents the horizon on this chart. So all of these squares here for each of these days represent the position of the moon, in this case, after the new moon day of the 5th month that occurred on the pagan day of Sunday, August 22nd. We track the moon after that and its height or position at the dawn and its percent illumination within that box, as you can see. And towards the middle of the month, as we know, the moon loses its light wholly, and we'll explain that further. And then, as you can see in the worksheet, we continue on into the 6th month, which was on the pagan day of Tuesday, September 21st. Many folks, including ourselves, had great film and photograph footage of that, proving that once again and proving that the forecast was accurate. And continuing on into the 7th month, as you can see here. We do this for every day. And this is just a dawn view. So again, we do this for sunset, midnight, and sunrise. If you want to learn, if you truly want to be a child of light, would you actually take the time to learn all of the 4 night watches? Or are you just going to stick with one of the gifts? So again, the perfect gifts of light from above come in 4 night watches and share amazing information on how to number our days and how to determine the first day of each and every month. Because if you rob yourself of any of the night watches out of the 4, you will come to conclusions that may not be advantageous to you as a person, let alone to a group of people. And we'll explain this further as the presentation goes on. So again, a forecast is nothing more than a method to calculate the future. Again, you have to go outside and test and prove that calculation. And at the end of the day, without going outside, this is all for naught. In fact, after a while, when you get better and your skills improve at forecasting, you don't need to do this anymore. You just need to go outside and test and prove on your very own. But again, if you're only focusing on one night watch, you will make mistakes, and this presentation will resolve that very easily. So again, this is the view of the dawn, a 37-day sample, and it reviews the mechanics of a restored full moon, or the perpetual motion of continuity, if you will. So as we did share on previous videos, we use many programs. This one's from WLC to track the percent illumination of the moon, let alone the dawn, the sunrise, the sunset, etc. We use many other programs to get the time of sunset, sunrise, such as timeanddate.com. And as we've shared on so many videos, we use 2 or 3 witnesses to verify each time. So we don't trust just one program. We follow the methodology of 2 or 3 witnesses in 4 night watches for each of the sunset, midnight, dawn, and sunrise time periods, just to ensure that the forecast is accurate. Again, that's step 1. The bigger step, the more important step, is going outside to test and prove this, not just for New Moon Day, but for every day, so that you can become, in time, a child of light. We are just students. We're not teachers. Children of the light recognize they're still students because there's so much to learn. So this is just one view, and we'll go over this a little bit further. As well, the position of the moon to true north is enormous, and we get that information from this program, and we verify it with another program, let alone a third program, to ensure its accuracy from man as well. And more importantly, then go outside and test and prove it. That's where the best activity of learning actually happens. But these forecasts save time. And again, think about the elderly that can't get outside and test and prove. This methodology has become very value added to those folks with disabilities and or the elderly, which we'll speak more about in the future, YaHUaH willing. And again, this mechanics of a restored full moon shows some perpetual motion of continuity or patterns or fixed ordinances. And the word laws actually mean this when it comes to the sun, moon, and stars. So there are reasons why Dawood, before he was king, knew why tomorrow was the new moon day. And this is just one of the witnesses from one night watch. There are more. So we'll get into that in this study as well. So here's the methodology we're going to use in this study. We're going to use the 5th new moon day, the 6th new moon day, and the 7th new moon day. 2 of these have already passed. And again, this is an example from the dawn. And we're going to go 3 days before New Moon Day itself, and then 3 days after New Moon Day for these 3 months or 3 witnesses. So this is how we're going to do this study. And we're going to share, again, all the criteria in each of these 4 night watches, which is where is the moon's position to the horizon each day? And again, this scriptural day count row, going from right to left, is the horizon. So the box shows if the moon is above or below or beyond the horizon. We show the percent illumination, and we also show the degrees to true north. And we'll get into this for each of the 4 night watches, but this is the worksheet we're going to use. And it highlights patterns or fixed ordinances every month. Each of the 4 night watches prove why the restored full moon is indeed new moon. So, again, you'll start to see these patterns. Again, don't focus on just one night watch. If we want to be children of the light, children become humble. They're in a position to learn. If you think you've got the answer, it's not really a humble approach, because you're never asking questions. Am I sure about this? Is this truly right? So again, pride is concerned with who is right. Humility is concerned with what is right. Humility looks at the bigger picture, while pride at times forces people to look at one thing and not all of the perfect witnesses of light and how they prove in 4 night watches why the restored full moon is indeed new moon. So this is the methodology for the entire presentation. So let's go to category 1 with the restored full moon at sunset as aligned with the sun and stars. So let's start with category 1. Okay, what do we learn in category 1 when we plot everything out? Well, as you can see, again, 3 days before new moon day in each of these samples, 5th month, 6th month, 7th month. And some really neat things start to highlight themselves. And again, it's only one witness. We just don't rely at the witness of sunset. We rely on all 4 night watches and the witnesses they provide to determine new moon day, which then secures the proper Sabbath day and feast days for everyone, everywhere. And let's highlight why that is. So if you look at the sunset time period, you'll notice something very interesting. Take a look in the 5th month. The moon is at its highest percent illumination the night before and the day of new moon day. Because the days before the night before new moon day, notice how the moon is waxing. And then boom, it becomes at its highest point of illumination, and then new moon day itself, and then the 3 days that follow it always wane. So that's what we experienced and filmed and photographed in the 5th month. We filmed and photographed the very same thing in the 6th month, didn't we? Because take a look. 3 days before new moon day, the moon on the 28th day of the 5th month, right here, was 95.5% illuminated at sunset, as you can see right here. The next day, on the 29th day, it was 98.8%, which is the 29th day of the 5th month, which occurred on the pagan day of Sunday, September 19th. And the night before new moon day, it was spectacular, wasn't it? At sunset, the moon was 100% illuminated, and so many people all over Earth filmed and photographed that. In my area, it was bright orange. It was amazing at sunset. And we have film footage on the last new moon video proving that. And by new moon day, the following day at sunset, it became 99% effective. Same pattern. And then for the remaining 3 days, it waned from 96.1 all the way down to 85.3. Well, the same is going to happen on the 7th month. The very same thing is going to happen on the 7th month. So take a look at the 3 days before new moon day, 92.9, 97.2 it's forecasted at, and the night before new moon day, 99.5. And the following night, 99.1, or 99.9, I apologize. So that pattern still exists. But at the end of the day, look what's different. And some people, regrettably, take this one witness, this one night watch, the start of the first watch, and they say this is what determines new moon day, because the moon always greets the sun at sunset. But that's not the case, is it? Take a look. For the 5th month, it didn't. The 6th month, it didn't. We've all proven that to ourselves. And if you notice, in the 7th month, it will. So this is not a reliable witness. It's a good witness, but it's not a reliable witness for every month, for everyone on Earth. So a lot of people focus on this and regrettably steer people in the wrong direction in picking the wrong new moon day just based on this one witness. They don't look at the rest of the night watches to find out how the restored moon proves when new moon day is. So the other thing that we do is, and you'll see another pattern here, we always record the start of the full moon 100% time period, when it becomes fully 100% illuminated, and a finish. So here is the time, and you can get a pattern that happens on the new moon day itself. And remember, midnight does not exist in YaHUaH's eyes, so to speak, in regards to when a day starts. So this has a factor on this, as we've explained in other videos. And here is that same witness right here. And it started on the 6th month. The moon became 100% 100% illuminated the day before New Moon Day in my area at 3:04 p.m. and finished being 100% illuminated at 1:26 a.m. Before the sunset or sunrise time period on the New Moon Day, which we all confirmed was the pagan day of Tuesday, September 21st. So here is that same information for the 7th month. Again, what is the takeaway from this one slide? You can use this information to determine the day before when New Moon Day is based on that boxed in criteria for these 3 months. It's hard to do. It needs practice, but it is possible. But again, you could do this in the other night watches as well. And we'll continue on and explain that further. So as you can see, a restored full moon is new moon. That's what this slide really highlights here with the circles. But you can't use this one witness at sunset to determine New Moon Day in regards to the position to the horizon, because it doesn't act that way. As you can see, the 5th month and 6th month, it was below the horizon, so it didn't greet the sun at sunset, but it will for the 7th month. So very, very interesting and important takeaway when you're only focusing on one of the night watches. Please don't do that. So let's continue. So there is another challenge with the start of the first watch at sunset. In Bereshith, or Genesis chapter 1, verses 14 through 16, it talks about 3 witnesses of light. And people that determine their new moon day just at the first watch at sunset, they rob the audience of the stars, because as you know, at sunset, you can't see the stars. You can't see Ursa Major, Pleiades, Orion, Hamal, the 2 sons of the bear, Arcturus and Spica. Very, very difficult at sunset, the start of the first watch. So again, this is a key takeaway. If you're a child of light, you humble yourself and you want to study because you're a child, you're humble. You want to know about all of these perfect gifts of light in all 4 night watches. So this is another takeaway that we have learned as children of the light, striving to become noble, trying to learn all we can about these perfect witnesses of light from our Father of Lights. So, because we've shared this in a couple other videos, where the mother of all clubs or all movements is the Roman Catholic Church today. And we know this because in Ezekiel chapter 29, verse 19, YaHUaH said, "See, I'm giving the land of Egypt to Nebuchadnezzar, sovereign of Babel." And regrettably, to this day, the world is enamored with this system of measuring shadows and darkness with a phallic symbol. And we're going to get into this in this presentation because at sunset, this system is overriding the brilliance of 4 night watches. We're to come out of Egypt and all forms of paganism. We don't have to be a Nimrod, and we don't have to follow a Nimrod. We don't have to be part of the Club of Rome. And let me explain this a little further. Some people wanted some clarification on this. From the video we did, that 365, 364, 360, and 354 day calendar clubs are still caught up in this system, and most are unconscious of it. Regrettably, some are conscious, and we'll get into this. We reviewed this in this video called The Chaos of 365, 364, 360, and 354 day calendar clubs. Very dangerous position to be in. We all have come from that. None of us were ever free and clear of this insanity, but this is what it means to come out of this world. And this presentation will provide a little bit more information. So what are we actually coming out of all through time? And we'll get into this because at sunset, we don't look at all of the light. Remember, Rome, to this day, the second Babylon, just as Egypt did, measures a portion of shadows. It doesn't measure light. It measures shadows and darkness. All of the Father of Light's perfect witnesses of light are light. So that's the main thing and the main theme of this presentation, because YaHUaH's thoughts are not our thoughts. People have been brainwashed, including me way back when, to measure shadows and darkness, number our days in that system. And YaHUaH further clarifies, hey, my ways are not your ways. For as the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts. So in this presentation, we are asking people to think bigger. Think about the 4 night watches. I repeat, think about the 4 night watches and all of the witnesses of light and what they do, the mechanics of it all, in regards to those 4 night watches. Because when you know that the restored moon is full moon, you'll know why there is no change nor shadow of turning with the perfect gifts of light from above. So what is the problem or challenge with this system that still exists to this day? So we're going to get into that. So category 1 really sets the tone, and we're now going to jump into category 2. We're going to get into the restored full moon at midnight as aligned with the sun and stars. So let's continue. So in this view, there's a lot of really neat things that happen that provide further clarity of why New Moon Day is scheduled when it is. So take a look at this. In this view, New Moon Day shows a higher percentage of illumination the night before New Moon Day. So as you can see in these 3 patterns for the 5th month, the 6th month, and the 7th month, the takeaway at the midnight view is extremely value added, as you can see right here. So this is a pattern that you can track on any given month. And it's a pretty consistent pattern. But again, just don't rely on this one witness. This is another witness to discern. We don't rely on one witness in Scripture. 2 or 3 witnesses to establish a matter. This is just another. So, a very great takeaway for children of light. Another takeaway is notice on the New Moon Day that the moon is at its highest position above the horizon. So in degrees above the horizon in all 3 months. Now, the challenge with this view is midnight I chose because YaHUaH does not number his days and hours the way we do. Enoch or Hanok explained that the day and night time period was broken up into 18 parts. So we do midnight here to explain this in a very logical and clear view for the audience. It gets better, and we'll explain this further, this particular witness, further in the upcoming 7th month, because it will help everyone understand why New Moon Day is indeed the pagan day of Wednesday, October 20th. On our first draft proposed release, we showed the 21st, but with other Bereans all over Earth scrubbing and cleansing that forecast, all of the witnesses in the 4 night watches are revealing that the restored new moon will be the full moon at this time period. And this is just one of the witnesses of many that will confirm that. So again, as you can see, a very, very exciting witness that helps us further to determine New Moon Day. And it's quite consistent, and we'll share this further in the presentation. The other great thing about the witness of the 2nd and 3rd night watch here at this midnight time period is the moon rules the night, Psalm 136 verse 9, with the stars. And you can see them at this time period. The sunset you can't. So again, another great view. This is why he gives us the 2nd and 3rd night watch, to actually view and learn. And you can photograph and film the moon ruling with the specific stars that it's assigned to for each given month, as in the case of the 5th month, in which we shared on Stellarium and took photograph and film footage. The same thing we did in the 6th month, and which we are now fully prepared to do in the 7th month, which is soon upon us. So again, all 3 witnesses are alive and well from sunset at the start of the 1st watch, getting into the second and the third watch, you're starting to see how all of this works in perfect harmony. But again, Rome, the beast, does not share this, does it? It doesn't do it. It produces a one-view approach and robs us of what? Well, number one, it starts its year in the dark. Number two, it starts days in the dark. Overall, number three, it measures or numbers shadows. And number four, it hides the restored new moon. Number five, as a result, it hides the true Sabbath. And as a result of that, number six, it actually promotes different Sabbaths can happen on different days. You know what I'm talking about. Yeah, on Friday, the Muslims can have a worship day on Fridays. Oh, and the Jews can have a worship day on Saturday. Oh, and the Christians can have a day on Sunday. As long as you're on their calendar, they don't care which worship day you have. They don't care about you finding the true new moon day. They don't care about you finding the true one Sabbath day. They will promote different Sabbath days, and they don't care. As long as you're not doing YaHUaH's true Sabbath, this is what they do. And this mindset is all about control. It's all about control. As long as you're on their calendar, they don't care what you do. As long as you're not doing what YaHUaH, the Father of Lights, provides to determine new moon days, Sabbaths, feast days, etc. Yes, the whole world followed the beast, as it does today. We don't have to be a Nimrod. We don't have to follow a Nimrod. We can allow the Father of Lights to teach us to number our days, because we are only children of the light, Bereans who are striving to become noble. That's why we're not teachers. We're still in student mode, learning. So this is what this means. And again, this is a different approach to think bigger. Think all the 4 night watches. Yeah, you're not going to be popular for it, but when did Scripture ever say, hey, if you do this and you follow what the Father of Lights provides, you're going to be popular? Well, obviously, the opposite happens. So again, when you think bigger, the year starts with all 3 perfect witnesses of light, not the equinox. Number 2, if you're thinking bigger, a day starts with all 3 perfect witnesses of light. Not just 2, but all 3. And as a result, number 3, you measure or number your days with light, not shadows and darkness. Number 4, you realize that the full light, not the partial light, reveals the restored new moon day. Yes, 100% illumination, the full light. We are full moon believers in association with its operation or its mechanics of perpetual motion of continuity with the sun and stars. And as a result of that, number 5, the lights reveal the true Sabbath. Number 6, the lights prove only one Sabbath for everyone everywhere. And then number 7, it shows that the Father of Lights is in control, not a world institution, or any man like me, or any woman, or religious organization. Yes, we trust the Father of Lights, not man, including me, because the Father of Lights is in control, not us. So again, this second to third night watch, which we're sharing here in this sample at midnight, really highlights some really cool things. Because why? YaHUaH said in chapter 30, verse 26, "And the light of the moon shall be as the light of the sun, and the light of the sun be sevenfold." Did we catch that? The light of the moon shall be as the light of the sun. A full moon is the only restored moon, just like the prophet YaHUaH, known as Isaiah today, knew. Just as HaNoch knew in chapter 73, verse 3, from the HalaluYAH scripture version, and I quote, "And her moon rising and going down change every month, and her days are like the days of the sun. And when her light is uniform, restored, full, it amounts to the 7th part of the sun." So this is one witness verifying the prophet YaHUaH. We have another witness from HaNoch that verifies this as well, and we can find it in chapter 78, verse 4. "In the circumference of the sun, there are 7 portions of light, which are added to it more than the moon. and in definite measures it is transferred till the seventh portion of the sun is exhausted. So again, this night watch provides great scriptural witnesses, astronomical witnesses, and etymological witnesses that can actually be empirically filmed and photographed out in creation. It's a wonderful thing. And thus why, in the book of HalaluYAH again, chapter 78, verse 12 through 13, out of the 7 witnesses that state on the first day she is called new moon. For on that day the light rises upon her. It does, doesn't it? She becomes full moon exactly on the day when the sun sets in the west, and from the east she rises at night, the moon rising at the night, and rules the whole night through. It shines, just as these witnesses show. Of percent illumination, anyways. And witness 6, till the sun rises over against her. Yes, that happens at the dawn to sunrise. And 7th witness, and the moon is seen over against the sun from the dawn up into the sunrise time period. And we'll get into that in the other slides. So as you can see, we have a lot of witnesses. And another great witness from HalaluYAH is a witness that he had said that the 15th day was very interesting to him because why? The light would wholly disappear. And as you can see on a 15th day, so here it is in the 5th month, right here, which was on the pagan day of Sunday, September 5th, the moon is below the horizon. It wholly disappears below or beyond the horizon. And in the 6th month, as we can see here, the moon is below the horizon. And the moon does, on that day, on the 15th day, at 3:06 a.m., and again, this midnight problem, obviously the day scripturally continues into the nighttime period, which would show up here. So the moon goes fully dark from 3:06 a.m. in my area to 12:12 p.m. So make a long story short, very interesting observation by HalaluYAH proving once again that a restored moon, a full moon, is the first day of every month, and why the 15th day the moon wholly disappears and the light itself. So in this example, you can test and prove that in your area too. You can forecast it and then as a result test and prove. Be in a better position over and above guessing or speculating. You can do the work out your deliverance. Again, HalaluYAH chapter 78, verses 12 through 13, and all her remaining light disappears wholly on the 15th. 2 reasons or 2 witnesses why this happens. It's beyond or below the horizon. Number 2, in some months, it does just that. It wholly disappears, and you can monitor and measure that thanks to the tools that are available today. So again, making a long story short, you can track all of this, and another reason why we can come out of Egypt. Again, you can see all of this data, all of these slides are available to you. So on this 3 days before, and here's a conjunction moon right here, and 3 days after, these are the readings below the horizon. Minus 17.49 degrees, minus 22, minus 26, minus 30, minus 32, minus 33.73, and on. You can track all of this. And this is what some people regrettably do that say it's new moon day. This is not a restored moon. It's not restored. Its remaining light is not restored. It disappeared. You don't restore something with darkness. You restore something with full light. And we'll get into this a little bit more. So again, it's regrettable, but we don't use the sun, moon, and stars and the calendar and clock as a weapon. We are children of the light. We're learning. We're not getting out there and chastising everybody. At the end of the day, we are striving to become noble, and as such, we use these witnesses of light to prove why these writings are astronomically and empirically correct. Now, if you don't want to do that, you have the right. We're not going to lose any sleep. We're not going to judge you. Again, we are striving to be full and complete children of the light. We're just students. So again, some people are going to choose the darkness and shadows again. There are 8 billion people on earth that choose shadows and darkness. The majority of 8 billion people will do that. I have no, delusion that I'm going to restore the celestial clock and calendar here and now in the age of man. The Messiah, YaHUaH, yes, the only begotten Son of the Father of lights, YaHUaH, is going to restore all things. Again, I'm just a student. I don't have that ability. So we do these videos just to share the witnesses of light and to ensure that we are searching what is right, not who is right. So again, we have no reason to follow or be a Nimrod. Shadows and darkness have no place when it comes time for appointed times, and from new moon to new moon, and from Sabbath to Sabbath. So again, we are all children of the light. So this midnight view, the second and third watch, really provides great witnesses for those children that are excited to learn this stuff in this second night watch and third night watch time period. Again, we can see the scriptural stars during this time period. So very value added as a student of light. Because day to day pours forth speech and night to night reveals knowledge. Welcome to that knowledge. It's wonderful if you use it. So again, some great witnesses here. Please don't discount them. If you decide to do so, we're not going to chastise you. But again, we are children of light, Bereans who are realizing that we're not fully noble yet. We're striving to become noble, which means to learn how to discern with all of the witnesses. Discernment is all about establishing the law correctly. Not who's being right, but our skill sets on how to improve at establishing the law in all circumstances. That's what the value of the 4 night watches are. But if you're still influenced by the beast, it'll focus you in on 1 night watch or none of them. And in this case, as you know, they get you to focus on the sun alone, and you measure it with shadows. And thus, you've got all these equinox believers, which is truly regrettable. Again, we came out of Egypt for a reason. Why go back? So again, we don't have to fall into this category of these 6 things which are all about control. And for whatever reason, people want to control the, others. I personally don't have that desire. I have enough trouble with the fruit of the Spirit working out my deliverance with self-control in all circumstances. Again, I'm a Berean striving to become noble. As my great study buddy friend, Berean friend Richard states, human beings have a characteristic called frailty, and they have this desire to control others. I don't have that. I just share the witnesses of light, and with other Bereans, we do our best to establish the law. And it's a great, great approach, thinking bigger. It's a lot more enjoyable. It's a lot more peaceful, and very, very, let's just say, value added when it comes to understanding the mechanics of a restored full moon and its perpetual motion of continuity, because these 7 things are just wonderful. Okay, so that concludes category 2 in regards to the restored full moon at midnight as aligned with the progression starting from the first watch as the sun goes down, and then getting into the second and third watch when the moon rules the stars whole night through with the stars, as per Psalm 136 verse 9. Just wonderful. Okay then, on to category 3. Yes, the restored full moon at dawn as aligned with the sun and stars in those 3 criteria. So we've reviewed this in past videos, so we're going to go into more detail, but thank you for the feedback on this particular scriptural study video. Very much appreciated. As we did talk about, again, not just numbering one day as it is in New Moon Day, but all of our days Teach us to number our days, as per Psalms chapter 90, verse 12. And let us bring the heart to wisdom, because we're being taught by YaHUaH on all the criteria, all 4 night watches, with 2 or 3 witnesses to establish the matter, so to speak. So let's continue on, because in this night watch as well, David could also predict in advance that tomorrow was the new moon day. So let's explore that, shall we? So again, here are those 3 months, 3 witnesses, if you will, in this particular sample. Again, 3 days before new moon day itself, and 3 days after for each of the months. And we're at the dawn. Now let's take a look at the pattern here. As we can see, the moon is waxing, and it's below the horizon 2 days. And the day before new moon day, it peeks its head out. Wow. And on new moon day, it shows at this time period, again, at the start of the 4th watch, at the dawn or first light, the highest percent illumination. And notice that pattern exists in every one of these 3 months that are upon us, with the 5th and 6th month already tested and proven, and the 7th month forecast highlighting the very same ordinance or fixed patterns. So when Job speaks about the laws of the heavens, this is an example of a witness of a fixed ordinance. Very valuable for many. Again, don't just use this one night watch as the witness, as being the end-all, do-all. Use all of the 4 night watches. This is just one more witness that David could use to determine in advance when new moon day was going to be. And you and I can use it as well. In fact, we can take photograph and film footage of it, can't we? So again, as you can see, it peeks its head out above the horizon the day before the new moon day. So great witness. And as you can see on new moon day, at the dawn, highest percent illumination. Again, it's just one witness. Don't rely on this one witness alone. Again, David used more than one witness, just as we shall. But it does indeed highlight why, once again, the restored full moon is new moon, and why anybody can shamar it, meaning observe it, visualize it, look upon it. And the really cool thing is, at this time period, it's one of the best time period, if not the best time period, to witness the scriptural witnesses of light with the stars in association to the perpetual motion of continuity in relationship to the greater light and their lesser light known as the moon. Please don't rob yourself of this wonderful witness. But many do. And again, it is what it is. I'm not here to influence anybody on what to use. We just share the witnesses of light with other fellow Bereans who are striving to become noble, and realize we're still just children. We're learning all this. How much more of all of these witnesses of light don't we know? And thus why the quest and the exploration continues. So again, Bereshith, or Genesis chapter 1, verses 14 through 16, talk about 3 things going on. At sunset and sunrise, you get the problem of not being able to see the stars. So again, those sunset folks that focus on that one period of the night watch, you rob yourselves of all this other stuff. And it happens with sunrise folks too, but again, we'll get into that. So, as you can see, the dawn or first light, the start of the 4th watch, huge witness, and a wonderful witness of light. And this is why Hanoch basically corroborated what Genesis chapter 1, verses 14 through 16 stated. We can read this in Enoch chapter 83, verse 11, again, the HalaluYAH scripture version, and I quote, And when I had gone forth below and seen the Shamayim, and the sun rising in the east, dawn, first light, and the moon going down in the west, dawn to sunrise, and a few stars. See, he's talking about first light here, because at sunrise, you can't see a few stars anymore. They disappear because of the greater light. So again, there are more witnesses scripturally, and we can share them, but hopefully, YaHUaH willing, in time we'll get to them. But a great witness, as you can see. And something else. So it's no surprise to us that the only teacher, the Messiah YaHushua, went to his taught ones in the fourth watch of the night. Yahushua went to his taught ones, which are now his emissaries, and he went to them walking on the sea. It's no surprise to us that the taught ones then went to the tomb in the fourth watch at the dawn on the first day of the week. And we can read this in Matthew chapter 28, verse 1, Marcus chapter 16, verses 1 through 2, and Lucas chapter 24, verse 1, and YaHuaH, or John chapter 20, verse 1. And it's no surprise to us in our prophetic circles of scriptural studies on prophecy that in 2 Kepha, or Peter, chapter 1, verse 9, it states the following, and we have the prophetic word made more certain, which you do well to heed as a light that shines in a dark place until the day dawns and the morning star rises in your hearts. Yes, that star known as the Lamb, or Hamal in Arabic, which operates, that perpetual motion of continuity, operates opposite to the star Spica. And it's why it's called the morning star. So again, a great witness which has tons of Old Covenant and Renewed Covenant scriptural witnesses that you can actually put to use outside in creation with a camera and film and photograph this, if you know what you're looking for, with the scriptural stars, as the moon rules the night with the stars. Psalm 136, verse 9. Again, don't discount this because you'll rob yourself of some excellent night-to-night knowledge. So again, Enoch in chapter 78, verse 12, verse 13, stated the following things for a reason. Again, if you understand how a day is actually measured, it's not the way we measure it. If you combine day and night, it consists of 18 parts. So that's something new for most of us, and we were introduced to this 7 years ago, and we were glad that we did. And we plan to do further scriptural studies in this because it explains how a day, a scriptural day, which is 23 hours, 56 minutes, and 4.09 seconds, equates to 364 days of time in a year based on a 365 and approximate 0.25 day solar year. And we'll explain how those 18 parts explain this even further, because the stars, the inner wheel of Ezekiel's wheel, is a seasonal, hourly, and navigational clock. Don't rob yourself of these perfect witnesses of light, because you can number this today just with your fingertips, these 18 parts, and how a day scripturally is monitored. But again, regrettably, the second Babylon, yes, the beast, has even robbed all of us of this. So we plan to do some other scriptural studies on video, YaHUaH willing, with this hopefully in time. Because anyone can do it without apps, in time with a little practice. Yes, these 18 parts that make up a full day and night time period are very easy to monitor. So again, we even know this further because the first day of the first month of Abib, and 177 days later, like Hanok said in chapter 79, verse 4, will bring us to the first day of the seventh month. HalaluYAH, Yom Teruah, or trumpets. But again, does the second Babylon want us to focus on the dawn time period? Hell no. They don't want anyone to deal with this information. Now, do they? So it's truly true that YaHUaH gave the land of Mitzrayim, or Egypt, to Babel, which exists to this very day. Again, we do not have to follow a Nimrod, and we don't have to act like a Nimrod with these 6 things. We do not believe we have the right to control others. Again, the Father of lights is in control. He teaches us how to number our days. Again, it's a beautiful journey when you think bigger. It's wonderful. So, thinking bigger puts us in the limelight of these 7 things because you're focusing on the lights, all 3 witnesses of light in all 4 night watches. So that's category 3. And there's much more to this, but that's all for now. And hopefully, YaHUaH willing, we get the opportunity to share more. Let's get into the 4th and final category, which is a restored full moon at sunrise, a great witness as it is aligned with the sun. And as we shared earlier, you really can't see the stars at this time period, which highlights some very important factors. Again, here is the view with the 5th month, 6th month, and 7th month. And as you can see, it really provides some great witnesses. Look at this. At sunrise, the moon is at its highest point of illumination. Here it is for the 5th month, it was below the horizon. Here it is for the 5th month, it was above the horizon. And here it is for the 7th month, below the horizon. So a great witness. But as we shared earlier, some people say this is the only watch that can determine new moon day. Very much like the same approach from some of the sunset folks. And again, it just doesn't work like that for everyone everywhere. And some of these people get so frustrated that they state unconsciously that the restored full moon is not new moon. And they go as far as saying that if you monitor and measure the percent illumination of the light with the moon, that's the same thing as using a phallic symbol and measuring darkness. What? Again, a phallic symbol is a phallic symbol. It's an evil symbol. Light has nothing to do and or is associated with a phallic symbol. So again, that phallic symbol measured shadows and darkness. When you measure light, you're in the light. You're attempting to be a child of the light. You don't recognize yourself as an expert. You're in motion of becoming a student into possibly one day learning all of this if you have enough days on this earth given to you by YaHUaH to learn it. There's a humble approach, and then there's the world's approach. The humble approach, when you think bigger, is you're striving to learn what is right. The world's approach is, hey, I got it right already. I don't need any other witnesses of light. I'm going to focus on me being right, or that guy is right and everyone else is wrong. Again, we're just sharing all the witnesses of light. What you do with them is up to you, just like it is me. I've decided to use all the witnesses of light to establish the matter of new moon day and the one true Sabbath. Whether or not the rest of the folks do that or not, that's between them and the Father of lights, just like it is me. So it's a much more peaceful approach. So again, as you can see, using just the sunrise view, it has trouble. Now, some people will say, well, new moon day can be on different days, and thus the Sabbaths can be on different days. Do me a favor. Look at the 7th month and look at a couple countries, because the moon doesn't rise above the horizon until Saturday, October 23rd. So some guys say, well, yeah, okay, my new moon day is going to be on Wednesday, October 20th. And then some guys say, well, my new moon day is going to be on October 21st. And then if you look at some other countries, the moon doesn't rise above the horizon until October 22nd. So be careful with this. Don't be led down the path to destruction with one approach, with one witness, in this case, the end of the 4th night watch. So again, this particular approach robs yourself of the stars, and you don't learn all those beautiful fixed ordinances from month to month. Yes, the moon rules the night with the stars, and specific stars for each given month. So again, when you just focus on this approach, This is why most people aren't aware and they're not in process of learning. And why many, hallelujah, are coming to that realization now, and they're going to look for those witnesses of light too. But this is one of the negatives of this one approach. So again, use all 4 night watches. So again, the restored full moon at sunrise is great, but again, it has some challenges. And we're going to go over that in the 7th month in greater detail. And we're doing that right now in some of the Celestial Clock and Calendar of YaHUaH workshops, which is just great. Many people are seeing this and reporting back to this with other fellow Bereans in their countries all over Earth. So again, we don't have to get caught up in this, because this is what the Roman Catholic Church beast does. Hey, just get on my approach, and so what if your new moon day is on a different day, and so what if your worship day or Sabbath's on a different day? Again, this is what the beast does. This is the output of that mindset. Hey, I don't care if the Muslims have worship days on Friday. I don't care if the Jews have a worship day on Saturday. And I don't care if the Christians have a worship day on Sunday. As long as you're on my calendar, I'm in control. Welcome to some of that mentality that still exists. So it is what it is. I don't think I'm going to change it anytime soon. All I know is I'm going to hang out with children of light that are excited to learn more, and they're going to go study that and all of the information of those perfect witnesses of light in all 4 night watches. So again, think bigger. That's what that means. It's not meant to be insulting in any way. So at the end of the day, let's think bigger. Let's go learn in the 4 night watches. So again, in closing this, before we get into the etymology part of it, the year starts with all 3 perfect witnesses of light. The equinox has nothing to do with it. It fits if you know what you're looking at. And number 2, a day starts with all 3 perfect witnesses of light. Again, if you know what you're looking at in all 4 night watches and how it builds up to the dawn and then into sunrise. And 3, we measure and number our days with the light. We're not going to apologize for that. Regardless if anybody says, isn't that like a method with the phallic symbol? Of course not. They can say that all they want, but it's completely opposite. Now, if you're thinking smaller, you won't come to that conclusion. And it is what it is. We're not going to chastise anybody for that. We've all come out of Rome, and the truth is we are still learning that there is more to come out of. And we're not there yet. Now, if you think watching this video you're righteous and you're there, please search the scriptures where it says no one is good, no one is righteous. We're not there yet. Even our only teacher, Messiah YaHushua, stated, why do you call me good? Only the Father of lights, YaHUaH himself, is good. So it's going to take some time. We have to have patience, and this takes scriptural love. Patience is difficult. Again, looking at number 4, the full light reveals the restored new moon. Number 5, lights reveal true Sabbath, and there's only one. And number 6, lights prove only one Sabbath everywhere. And number 7, the lights prove that YaHUaH is in control, not us. So what's the summary of all this? YaHUaH, our Father of lights, unites. He does not add or take away from the witnesses of light from all 4 night watches. He doesn't do that. But what does the world do? What is the takeaway? What is the summary of this presentation? Stating, if you're still in the world or part of the world, whether unconsciously or consciously, the world hides and divides. The world does add and take away from the witnesses of light. That was the intent of this particular scriptural study. And it's tough. We're all part of this journey of attempting to walk in the way, to be children of light. And the way is hard pressed, but we're not perplexed. So at the end of the day, bring on the heat. If someone wants to argue this, all we know is we're going to look at all the witnesses at the start of the first watch at sunset, and we're going to learn further of what that shares with us. We're going to further look at the 2nd and 3rd night watches with examples like we have here from the midnight, and we're going to share more because the 2nd and 3rd night watches are unbelievable in regards to true value and wonderful gifts. Those perfect gifts of light are perfect for a reason, and we're learning more of them every day. And yes, we're going to strive at the dawn to share even more, because there is more to share about this wonderful witness or night watch. And yes, we're going to hold on to the sunrise as well. And we're going to take all of these 4 witnesses or approaches in these night watches, and we're going to establish the matter with more witnesses. Yes, we're going to take the weight of evidence, the whole evidence. The restoration of all things is the lesson of a restored full moon and its mechanics, because it highlights the perpetual motion of continuity, the restoration of all things. So again, this is the approach on this presentation, because no human being in the right mind would take away from a human wristwatch clock or wall clock. They don't take away the second hand, the minute hand, and the hour hand. Now, would they? But the beast has influenced people to think they have a right to take away from parts of the 4 night watches, if not all of the 4 night watches, or worse yet, to say only one night watch or a particular part of that night watch is it. That's scary stuff. So again, as we go through this, we're going to finish this study with some word studies on the etymology of how this is further proven. Because in Psalm 81:3, we're coming upon the first day of the 7th month, Yom Teruah. Trumpets. We're going to blow that ram's horn at the full moon. We're going to do that because there's a ton of other scriptural verses that prove this is the 7th month. And we'll share that again like we do every year, YaHUaH willing, on some other scriptural study videos. And we're going to know about the word in H3677 Strong's, why it's an appointed time and not just something that people are trying to hide. So again, if we get into this word in Strong's H3677, Kesa, we're going to learn that it's associated to Psalm 81:3. And we're going to learn why it's associated to an appointed time, which is a full moon, as we see in the research from Brown Driver Briggs' definition. Apparently from 3680, if you go into it a little further, and most people, regrettably, that still have their mindsets in the darkness say, oh, no, this is why a conjunction moon is a full moon. A conjunction moon is a new moon. Well, that's not true, because you can't cover something with darkness. You cover it with light. You're concealing what? Sin. The full moon is about restoration, that you have an opportunity to be restored. You have an opportunity to be protected from the second death. The whole point of New Moon Day as a consecrated day, a set-apart day, is that it's a rebirth, a restoration, that you have the opportunity to be protected from the second death. You can be covered, fully clothed, fully protected with the light. I get up every day and palau, or prayer, supplication for this request. This is why for us the celestial clock and calendar of YaHUaH is so exciting, so promising. Because I'm not looking for a robe that's going to be black. I'm looking for the white robe. I'm looking to be rebuilt. I've got problems. I am not righteous. I'm a wretched man, as per the writings of Shaul in Romans chapter 7. I need to be renewed. I need to be repaired. Again, don't use this calendar as a weapon. Again, this calendar is about humility, on striving to establish what is right with all witnesses. So again, great scriptural word studies and how they're associated empirically and astronomically to the sun, moon, and stars. Again, do you want a black robe? Or do you want to be dressed in a white robe? So this is pretty basic, but again, the beast is alive and well, and it ensures you don't even do basic scriptural etymological word studies. You want to be rebuilt, don't you? I want to be renewed. I want to be repaired. I want to be restored. That's the synonym of these words, or kadosh. So I will blow the ram's horn at the time of the new moon. at the full moon, on our appointed day, on our festival day. I need to be repaired. I'm going to blow that ram's horn asking for reparation. I want to be restored. That's the point of Yom Teruah. So at the end of the day, the restoration of all things is highly ignored in the partial prophetic timeline circle groups and clubs. And this is why they only focus on the age of man. They don't look at the full light with the kingdom when the Messiah Yahushua will restore the celestial clock and calendar of his father YaHUaH, the Father of lights. Again, you want to be a new thing. You want to be fresh. Kodash, Strong's entry H2319. And it's all about the new month as it relates to the entry H2318 and H2320. A new month, the first day of every month, is an opportunity to cleanse, to restore. If you get into the Paleo-Hebrew pictographic language, okay, it's like a cup. It conceals a covering of something. What's YaHUaH going to do? He's going to cover you with a white robe, and your sins will be remembered no more. You will not experience the second death. But it takes humility. It's not a contest of who is right. It's a contest of exploring together as one what is right. So again, renewed, repaired. Something that is new, renewed, restored, or repaired. Even the paleopictographic information. A child of light sees this as humor and not offensive. So when I say, what would Grover say from Sesame Street? This puts me in the right frame of mind that I'm still a child learning. Yes, this is old. It's before. This is renewed. This is after. This is what I'm shooting for. I need to be renewed. Just like this old home, that's what I am. I want to put off the old man and put on the new man. I want to be renewed. Now, if some of you don't want to be renewed, that's your choice. I'm not going to chastise you. You have the right to choose, and that is between you and the Father of lights. Again, this is renewed. This is old. It's not complicated. This is old. This is renewed. This is old. And this is restored. The restored moon is the new full moon. Welcome to New Moon Day, which anyone can see, shamar, observe with the human eye. Again, it's all about restoration and renewal. And there are tons of scriptural passages. Yes, on every New Moon Day, YaHUaH, I beg of you, please allow your Son, the Messiah, the Anointed One of Yah, yes, you, Father of Lights, allow the Messiah Yahushua to wash me, to make me whiter than snow, to take away the sins, my sins and the rest of the sins of everyone else. Please help us with that. Please help us be dressed in white robes, because let's ensure that all and every one of us have an opportunity coming out of the great distress to be washed with robes and made with white, make them white in the blood of the Lamb. So again, this is not for everybody, obviously. But empirically and from an absolute truth standpoint, you can test and prove all of this. You can guard it, you can shamar it, you can observe it, you can regard, and you can wait and watch it to happen every month. Yes, you too can be a watchman. But these folks don't want you to be a watchman now, do they? The beast. So when I say folks, it's systemic. This beast is very old, and it influences people to do things in a certain way. Like say, no, you can have new moon days on different day everywhere on earth, and you can have Sabbath days on different days. Please don't get caught up into this silliness. This beast is so effective, and it's influenced so many down that path. So it's regrettable, but it happens. And as a result of that mindset, which is non-scriptural, we forget about the writings of the emissary YaHuaH in chapter 1, verses 5 through 7. And if you're wondering why people aren't fellowshipping together and there's a lot of division, Well, we're not all walking in the light with all of the 3 scriptural witnesses of perfect light, the sun, moon, and stars, in all 4 night watches. And thus why there is division. But if we all walked in all of those witnesses of light, we would have fellowship with one another. Now would we? We would have fellowship, but we won't, not in this age of man. There will be people striving to prove who is right and not what is right. Again, humility demands that you explore all of the witnesses of light and not just one approach. You will not rob yourself of the 4 night watches. So anyways, this is going to be this regrettably is going to be alive and well for a little while longer. And that's why folks like us are looking towards the kingdom, the 1,000-year millennium. So again, he again defines a certain day. Today. It's not another day after or the day before. There's only one day for new moon days and Sabbaths. So saying through Dawood so much later, as it had been said, today, if you hear his voice, do not harden your hearts. So again, help me not to harden my heart, and help others around you not to harden their hearts. And let's together move forward. And let's always remember the prophet Ezekiel in chapter 20, verse 20. The Sabbaths are set apart. And if they weren't set apart, they'd be on different days, just like the Roman Catholic Church, or what we call the Roman Catholic control system, demands. So again, this is how you know who YaHUaH is, or part of that journey as well. So as we go into this, please think bigger. Do not add or take away from the 4 night watches. Please help me to learn more, because HalaluYAH, a restored moon is indeed a full moon. So we continue to call upon the name, yes, YaHUaH himself, the Father of Lights, that these scriptural study videos provide value to you and your loved ones. Until next time, may our only teacher, the Messiah YaHushua, be in everything we say and do. All the best, everyone, with all of the witnesses of light. All the best.